The last one to check out. Hey everyone, welcome to Prince of the Gay. I'm your host Connie, and today we are here with my first impression reaction to the Apothecary Diaries. Now, for those of you who are new to the channel and don't know what a first impression reaction is, let me explain real quick before we really get into this. So on this channel, we have something called a first impression reaction, where I give my first impressions to a series by checking out the first or so episode. Sometimes it might be two or so, depends on if it's like a two-parter or whatnot. But usually it's just the first episode. So I check out the first episode and I determine from there if it's something I want to continue reacting to in the future, something I want to watch on my own time, or if it's something I'm just not interested in and am going to drop. For whatever reason it might be. If I watch it in the future, it's going to be sometime down the line. It can be in a short period of time. It might be a long period of time. It's just kind of unknown whenever I'm kind of in the mood to get to that, whenever a spot opens up on my channel, on my schedule. And I'm feeling like, oh, I'm ready to get to that series at the moment. Stuff like that. But now you may be wondering, okay, so why Apothecary Diaries? Specifically, why am I checking this out today? Well, there's a few reasons, but the most important of those is that it's the only show from the 2025 Crunchyroll Anime Awards Anime of the Year nominees that I haven't even checked out the first episode of. Because with Solo Leveling, which won, I've seen the first episode. I did a first impression of it on this channel. I just haven't continued it yet. That is something I said I was going to do but just not gotten around to it. But the other ones on there, I'm currently reacting to Frieren. I reacted to Delicious in Dungeon. I checked out the first episode of Kaiju number 8. That's also on the channel. And I think that's it. Frieren, Kaiju number 8, Delicious in Dungeon, Apothecary Diaries, and Soul Leveling. Yeah, because there were 5. There were 5 contenders. And so having seen, or at least the first episode of all of them except this, it's like, I felt like, well, I should probably at least check this out too. Now, I don't really know what this is about, outside of, like, knowing what an apothecary is and everything. Like, dealing with, like, herbalism and medicines and stuff like that. You can see these in a lot of, like, fantasy games. There'll be, like, an apothecary or something like that. Sometimes they use different words and all, but the basic gist can, like, still get through. So yeah, that's kind of the biggest reason I wanted to check this out, because it's the only one of those that I haven't even checked out at all. But I've also seen, like, other reactors checking this series out, and I've just heard people, like, praising this series a lot. And I wanted to give it a shot and see what it was like. So we're going to do so today, and we're going to check it out in dub, because, I don't know, I'm just choosing to check out the dub. There's no real reason. I don't know who's in the dub cast. I don't know, like, if the dub is considered good compared to the sub. I don't know, but I just decided, you know what, why the hell not? No important reason one way or the other. Just made a decision on the fly. So we're going to check this out today, and hopefully it ends up being good. Hopefully it ends up being another really good one, but we'll see. In the meantime, I think we're just going to get into this and find out, because like I said, I don't know anything about it. I don't know what to expect. I assume based on what it's about, it's probably a lighter series. It's probably not as like intense as some of these others. Probably not even as intense as Delicious in Dungeon can get. Um, but we'll see. We'll see. I'm always willing to give everything a fair shake, and if I'm not into it for whatever reason, then I'm not into it. It's as simple as that. But let's find out. So let's get into this first impression reaction and see what the Apothecary Diaries has in store for us. Hold up just a sec. Before you click that link down in the description below to get to today's video, I want to remind you of all the awesome content we have both on this channel and the Princess of Gaming channel. Let's check it out. And we are back, and we'll begin with spoilers in 3, 2, 1, now. So if you've been following my content for a long enough period of time, like prior to this channel, back when I had my previous channels, prior to that account being shut down and everything due to, copyright bullshit. If you've been following my content since before February 2018, basically, you might remember that prior to that, at some point, I don't remember exactly, probably when it first came out, but at some point prior to that, in fact, hold on, I'm going to find out the exact, it was probably 2017, I want to say. It might have been earlier than that, because this, it aired in 2015. But getting back to the point, you may remember that I reacted to an anime called Akagami no Shiryuki Hime, or Snow White with the Red Hair. And you may remember that Shiryuki, the main character, was an herbalist. And the first episode started with all of that, and she was like pretty much against her will taken to be a concubine for the prince. And while obviously there's a lot of differences already, this first episode very strongly reminded me of that. And like that surprised me. Because it's like, that's such a very specific thing to remind me of. And I just didn't expect to think back to that. But I wanna make clear that this is a good thing. Because I really enjoyed that series. Snow White with the Red Hair, I think, is a fantastic series. It's not like the best or anything. It's not like amazing. But I really did enjoy the I think it was 2 seasons that it got, and I thought it was very, very fun and had a lot of like more relaxing vibes to it, even when it got a little more exciting. This series reminds me of it, of course, with Mao Mao being an apothecary, again kind of in line with being an herbalist, basically the same thing. There's the connected aspects of concubines and serving royalty and everything. Mind you, Shiryuki fled that life before it could really even happen, and ended up with a different prince of a neighboring kingdom, and there's all kinds of crazy shit that came down from that, and so on and so forth. Here we have Mao Mao just kind of like keeping her head down and just listening, just obeying because she doesn't want to cause trouble. Because if she causes too much trouble, she could fucking die. As she makes very clear. But in the end, like, as it put, like, she can't help but get involved when it's like, when it's necessary. And even though she does it in this very roundabout way, she makes sure to try and do what she can to save a life here. And she succeeds. And this is why she ends up being, like, promoted to be the lady in waiting for Kyukyu. Kyukyo? However it's said. It'll take me, I know, a bit of time to get names like this down. Apologies for that, but if I mess up, just bear with me. I'm trying. Um, I also mentioned there was, like, the comparison I was making to Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood, with the animation sometimes suddenly going into, like, this chibi style. FMAB did the same thing, where it's like, oh, it's normally just regular animation and everything, but occasionally you'll see Ed and Al, and even on occasion another character, go into that, like, kind of funny, comedic chibi style, to kind of showcase a more lighthearted side to things. Um, Now, one question I had didn't seem to be answered. I almost don't want to look this up, but I do want to ask if anybody has seen this and everything. As long as you don't, if it's not a spoiler, and as long as you don't spoil me to anything else, could you tell me what her age is supposed to be? Because there's talk of her being like possibly being a concubine, and like the proprietor of the house of the place she was working at before was even like kind of almost threatening her with that. And it's like, I understand that in like the time period this kind of represents, although I don't know like if this is supposed to be the equivalent of like real history in terms of that, or if it's just like more of a fantasy world. I don't know. But in that kind of time period and all, I understand there was questionable things done with younger girls who were definitely not of adult age. I understand that. I want, there's a certain ickiness to that with me, and I'm just really curious because of how they've been, again, how that was being brought up multiple times with her. And with it being an anime, it is extremely hard to tell ages sometimes. Um, because sometimes a character might be like a teenager and they might look like an adult, or even vice versa. And with animation in general, like, it can be sometimes a little vague on that. And so I'm just curious, because that does, like, if she is a teenager and they're talking about her in this kind of manner, it does present a little ickiness to me. It's not as bad as some other shows out there that will like just actively like over sexualize child characters, but still, I just want, again, if her age is not a spoiler or anything, because I don't know if it is, just let me know. Like, how old she's supposed to be, because I can't tell. Um, this gets started pretty quick in terms of like the pacing of this. You're introduced to Mao Mao, and you start to see like she's working again with this concubine business and everything. She injures herself specifically to test out medicines, and she lives with, was her father or grandfather or whatever, Um, and then one day she ends up being told don't get kidnapped, and it ends up getting kidnapped because that was obvious foreshadowing. But it happens like really quick. It happens like I think in the course of like 5 minutes, pretty much. And then it's like she ends up like months later, just having gotten into this life as a serving girl at the palace. And it's just like, all right, it just kind of like focuses on let's give a tiny little bit of this backstory so we can get to the meat of what this is about. Because it's very clear that they wanted to make sure this first episode included this entire thing with her, you know, finding the cause and the cure for what was going on with the makeup, the white-faced makeup, and ending it with her getting that promotional makes sense logically. I don't know how many chapters of, I assume, the manga that this covers. I don't know, like, if this is even a manga. I mean, I don't know. I don't know what the source material might be. But if there even is one, some series are anime original. But either way, if it is a manga, I wonder if this was like maybe a couple chapters worth of content, and they kind of like squoze it in, and maybe they even like cut down on the stuff beforehand in order to get to that. I'm just kind of wondering about that, how it was paced comparatively. And yeah, I don't mind it. I don't think the pacing is bad. It's just it is fast. It gets to things pretty quickly. But it's clear that it has that specific reason as to why it does. It almost needs to. Mama's character, she has a little bit of like a sass to her. She's obviously very kind, but also kind of a dumbass. And I don't mean that in a way of like, oh, she's not a dumbass like Luffy from One Piece is a dumbass. She's a dumbass in the way of like, because she's very smart. She's a dumbass in the way of like, she is going to do really stupid stuff for her passion and her job. And that kind of comes down to with the entire, like, intentionally injuring herself for the sake of testing out these medicines and stuff. That's like ridiculous. That's fucking stupid. um but yeah, she's very clearly extremely smart outside of that, especially in terms of her apothecary knowledge, which makes sense. She has a like strong medicinal knowledge, and she kind of has to. But I wonder if we're going to see her kind of learn new things through this as well. I kind of hope so. Um, she has a little bit of a naivety towards things, and is very clearly non-confrontational in kind of a lot of the ways that I would say I am. Because if I were in a similar situation of any kind, I would probably do the same kind of thing as her. I would keep my head low, not make trouble, just, obey and behave myself. Because I tend to be very non-confrontational. I don't want to start trouble. I don't want to get yelled at. I don't handle, like, yelling very well at all. I actually, like, kind of break down if someone yells at me. It freaks me the hell out and just sends me into full panic mode. Do not like it at all. It really just feels horrifically bad. Um, but it's like I would just not do anything that would like cause trouble because I don't want to get hurt or even killed. So there is definitely a connectivity with that aspect of things. It's also interesting that like all the only men who are allowed in the like rear palace are those who are like the emperor, the men who are directly connected to the emperor, and the eunuchs. And the eunuchs are specifically allowed in because, they can't basically usurp the emperor's women and get them pregnant. Um, because these women, these concubines and whatnot, are meant for the emperor to, bear children for him. And it's like, yeah, that tracks. That a lot about that tracks. And they seem like fully willing, which is good. I'm glad that they seem like they're like fully consenting to this. Although I think even if they weren't, it wouldn't really matter because it's definitely that kind of thing where it's like, oh, the emperor wants you, you don't get a choice. But it is, it makes it better with them at least being consenting and wanting this. And seeing how much they care for their children as well is also obviously very nice. They don't have any like regrets or anything towards their children for being born of this kind of thing. Um, but you also see there's a bit of rivalry between them, at least mostly one-sided. Gyokyo doesn't seem as like invested in it as the other one. I can't remember the other lady's name, but she was much more aggressive about it and was like placing all the blame and everything on Gyokyo. It was, and even when Gyokyo tried to help her, tell her about the powder and everything, she just didn't listen. So it's like there definitely seems to be a sense of like, how do I put this? A sense of importance between them, because the one woman who was like very high and mighty about it and very angry was because she bared a son, and obviously that would be important towards the lineage of the empire, while Hyokyo bared a daughter, and that unfortunately is not helpful for the lineage and everything in that way. But at the same time, there's also a chip on the other lady's shoulder because Gyokyo is more preferred by the emperor. He likes her more. And for the fact that she, bore a daughter instead of a son, like the other woman, that's what I think is definitely making the other woman even angrier. That the emperor prefers someone who didn't even bear him a son, didn't even bear him an heir. And in the end, the fact that she also lost her son, that he died of this, also probably just makes her even more pissed off. So it's like I would not put it past her to attempt something. I'll put it that way. Um, this one main concubine is interesting because it's very explicitly stated in the canon that he's androgynous in appearance. Because Mao Mao even thought he was a woman at first. Um, and I kind of dig that. I kind of dig when anime like will not only make a character like visually androgynous for our sakes, but will also make a point of that same character being canonically like within the world seen as androgynous. Um, because it just creates this good combination of how the visuals look to us, but also how the characters within the world are seeing it. Because sometimes you'll get like characters who are male who have a more androgynous look, and that's never brought up in the canon. They're just seen as, as men. And that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that inherently. But I kind of dig when a series does acknowledge the androgynousness of a character's appearance within the canon. It's just like, that's just interesting to me. Um, And I feel like, at least for a lot of the stuff I've seen, it's not shown too often. At least not that I can think of off the top of my head. But we see how observant and smart he is. He gathered a lot of information from very little, just hearing her muttering to herself, and was able to put together like so much in such a short amount of time. And yeah, it makes sense. Like everything connects. Like he heard her muttering, I need to find something to write on, which implies that she can write and more than likely read. The note that was attached to the flowers also, on top of that, was clearly made from a very specific material. So he was able to put together that had to be a servant girl. And he, like, when looking into her, found out she worked in the laundry, which would give her ample opportunity to do this. It's like everything connects in a very logical, believable way. But, like, realizing how he put this all together pretty damn quickly also shows his intelligence, and again how observant he is, which I think, like, clearly based on the opening, he and Mao Mao are going to connect. There might even be a little bit of a romance there, even though, like, it can't, like, end up with, sex. um like, there still can be romance. And that would be really interesting as well, considering that he is a eunuch and she's, well, now a lady in waiting. I wonder if, like what the general, like, laws and ideals behind that are going to, like, be, if this is the case that it does go that route. And, like, is there going to be, like, some, like, big, like, cultural aspect to that? I wonder. I genuinely am not sure about that. So that would be really fun and interesting to find out, to delve into. Obviously, the series is going to delve a lot into the just, medicinal and poison aspect of everything. And we even see at the end there's setup for the next episode with these. It looked like they were soldiers or something. They were eating, and people just started, like, passing out or dying or whatnot suddenly. And they noticed it was poison, obviously. And I assume it was in whatever they were eating there. But yeah, that's definitely going to be a job for Mao Mao to figure out. Now, one thing I noticed is Mao Mao brings up, after having been, kidnapped and sold to the palace and whatnot, she's brought up, like, I think twice after that, like, thinking about her father or whatnot. And I'm wondering if we're going to end up, like, kind of catching up with that idea, because at this moment we have no idea, like, how much he's been searching for her, how, like, scared he's been about all of this, if he's found out anything regarding it. We don't know. And will she, like, have a moment where she comes in contact with him again and gets to actually interact with him in that way? I genuinely don't know. Like I said, though, I did like the dub, and I forgot to look this up, so I'll look it up right now. I want to find out who the VAs are. I have the Wikipedia still open, so I could just look here. So, oh. Oh, wait, no, shit. I have the wrong one up. Hold on. I was looking up, I looked up the VAs, and I noticed it said Brina Palencia for the dub, and it's like, oh, wait, no, that's Shirayuki. So I'll just look up behind the voice actors, Apothecary Diaries. There we go. Appeared pretty quickly. So the first season of this came out in 2023. So it was more the second season that I guess was in line for the anime of the year. Okay, so Mao Mao is Emmy Lowe, and I know the name, but I not 100% who else she's voiced. Let me see here. Okay, let's find something I know here. Okay, so I think this girl was in the first episode of Solo Leveling, Han Song Yi. I think there was a girl, like, who was, like, best friends or something with the main guy. whose name I suddenly can't remember, though I've heard it enough lately, but I think she might have been from the first episode. Oh, and she's also Mui and Miko from Undead Unluck, though I didn't watch the dub of that. I did check out a little bit of it. Something else I know, though. I know Emmy Lowe's name. I do. I just can't, like, place, like, what else I would know her for. So I'm trying to, like, find something here. Oh, she's Miri from Buddy Daddies. Did we check out the dub of that? I think so. I think it was the dub we checked out for that. Miri is the little girl. I do need to get back to that eventually. She's young Tomo, and Tomo-chan is a girl, which I have seen a bit of, thanks to Youmacon. I saw a little bit of it there, just in one of the video rooms. Oh, she's Akane from Chainsaw Man. The one who was working with the oh god, what? The Katana Man. Yeah, Kane Sawatari. And I definitely watched the dub for that. So, she was Lucy in Cyberpunk Edgerunners. That's a big one. And I have seen that, even if I didn't like it, I did see it. She was Chitose in Kakegurui Twin. We reacted to that. Uh, bu- 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 Sorry, I know we're just looking at voice acting stuff right now, but I'm curious, you know? Oh, she's Reina in the newer Higurashi seasons? That's interesting. Was she Reina in the older ones, too? Oh, she's Mirai Shishio, Tsukasa's sister in Dr. Stone. Okay. So we've I've heard her in various places, clearly. She was in Nichijou as Princess Starla. That was, I think, one episode, maybe two. Young Hawks in My Hero Academia. Okay, and various other things, but let's look up the other voices here real quick. Just give my phone a second to go back. Because I want to know who else was in this. Also, try to help remember some of these names. Jinshi, that's the guy. That's the unit guy. Oh, that was Kaiji Tang. That was Gojo. I if I listened to it again, I'd probably hear it. Yeah, he was Gojo in Jujutsu Kaisen. Uh, Gyokyo is Molly Zhang. Trying to find other names here I recognize. Liwa, that was the other woman. Oh, that was Trina Nishimura as Liwa. Okay. Okay, I don't think there's much else here I recognize. At least in terms of the names and remembering them. Pyrene was the one concubine, right? The one at the place Mau used to work for? Because this says that was Kieran Strange. Like, my friend Kieran. Um, and I know he's been in various things, but was he Pyrene? I, I'm gonna have to go back and listen to that, because that's wild. Um, but yeah, either way. Uh, yeah, I really enjoyed this. I thought this was good, and now I guess we should probably get to the question of whether or not I'm going to continue this in the future, and I think I do want to. I think this is something I could continue. Um, Initially, I would probably say I'd rather watch this on my own time, but I don't know. This first episode gave me vibes to where it's like, no, I actually think this might be fun for reactions, even though it's a lot more lighthearted. And it's like there's not a lot of action, or there's probably not going to be a huge amount of like huge surprises or shocking moments or intense stuff. I think this is going to be something that could be good for reactions. So I'm going to say we're going to continue it for now. But not for right now, obviously. We'll continue it in the future. I don't know exactly when. We're just going to kind of play that by ear. And we'll get to that as we get to it. It might be sooner, might be later. I don't know. But for now, I'm going to say yes. We will continue reacting to this at some point down the line. But tell me in the comments below, what did you think of this first episode of the Apothecary Diaries? Let me know. Obviously, I know this series is very popular. But yeah, let me know your thoughts on this first episode. Just no spoilers. I do not want to be spoiled. This is definitely something I want to go in as blind as possible, which is pretty much everything anyway. But you know, no spoilers. So that being said, thank you so much for tuning in. I'm Connie, and I'm signing off. See y'all next time.